Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to transform your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore. I lead BioSTL's inclusion initiative here for the region. Hey, lady.
How are you?
I am doing well.
Excellent.
We are, what are we, season 9 now?
We are finishing season 8.
Yeah.
Don't get ahead of ourselves now.
I'm so excited.
2019, we'll start with season 9.
And we've surpassed 23,000.
Oh, for sure.
And listens.
Yes.
So now this is so exciting.
Yes, we're really excited. And
yes.
we're working on some great shows for 2019. Mm-hmm. In fact, we've recorded enough shows through season 8 that we'll probably be airing some of these into 2019. So
wow.
if it's the turn of the new year and you're still hearing us talk about the end of last, just know that, we got a little ahead of ourselves.
Ooh.
And that's a good thing. It means we could take a little time off during the holidays.
Oh, yes, for some Prosecco.
Oh, excellent. Well, and that reminds me, you were just recently featured on
the Prosecco website?
No, the Bourbon Friday.
Yes.
The Facebook Live.
That was so much fun.
Then led to the how can we get Prosecco instead of bourbon conversation. So we're working on that. But as of right now, it's still a dry podcast here at Entrepreneurially Thinking. And we have our founding presenting
2019
sponsors.
will bring different
You
things.
never know who. We may have new sponsors, right?
Prosecco sponsor.
Okay, you're in charge of that. But for right now, we have to thank our founding presenting sponsors, CET and BioSTL, for making sure that we can still come to you and share great stories like the one you're going to hear today. So make sure you tune in to wherever you find your favorite podcast, subscribe, download, play, listen, iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you find your favorite shows.
Wherever you are, we want to be.
This show should be someone's favorite. So what are we doing today?
Well, I always start off with a bit of education for our
context.
Listeners. Yes. So millions of Americans are affected by mental health conditions every year. Mm-hmm. Mental Health America, a community-based nonprofit dedicated to addressing the needs of those living with mental illness, reports 1 in 5 adults have a mental health condition. Rates of youth with severe depression increased from 5.9% in 2012 to over 8% in 2015, and it continues to rise.
We've
That's
got a lot
really
of folks
scary.
struggling, young and old.
And young people especially. That's really sad. Today, more people have access to care given technology, and mental wellness and treatment has increased. When we come back, we're going to be talking to an innovative therapist who's making access to mental health care convenient as well as flexible with technology. Melissa Douglas will join us after the break. So stay listening.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast, and we want you to know all about the great things they are up to. BioSTL Fundamentals is an entrepreneur development program designed to support early would-be entrepreneurs in the life sciences in St. Louis. The program provides a one-on-one customized business learning experience for each participant. You can learn more about BioSTL Fundamentals by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
My name is Melissa Douglas, founder of Goal Driven Counseling, licensed clinical social worker and distance credentialed counselor. Entrepreneurial thinking means to me learning how to work with fear. I think a lot of times we think that it means to be fearless, to be entrepreneurially thinking, but fear is going to come with it. Anxiety is going to come with it. And a lot of worry is going to come with it. So I think entrepreneurially thinking is to embrace the fear, learn how to help it work with you so that you can reach the goals that you have and those dreams that you have to take the limits off.
Joining us today is Melissa Douglas, founder and distance counselor with Goal Driven Counseling.
I love that.
I know. fully online counseling service for teens and young adults going through different life transitions. She is a licensed clinical social worker, hails from the University of Missouri St. Louis. Ooh. And she has found ways to use technology to make sure that she can reach more and more folks who need her assistance. So we're really glad you could join us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So, Melissa, what does it mean to be a distance counselor? Because we're so accustomed, at least my experience with therapy has been I go to an office and I talk to somebody face to face, right? Maybe sometimes over the phone, but I don't even think I've ever done that.
I've never heard of this title. I love this distance counselor. I love that.
Well, she's forging new ground, right?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So the actual distance counselor credential or title actually comes from the credential.
Oh, wow.
So I have a DCC, which stands for Distance Credential Counselor.
There's credentialing around that?
It absolutely
is. That's amazing.
Well, I would imagine that's like a whole separate skill set. If you can't see me and look at my face and watch my body language and still, well, I guess you can with video. Anyway,
with FaceTime.
It's a whole different skill set.
Yes.
Yes, it absolutely is a new skill set. And with mine, it's all video. So we don't do any just audio counseling because that video component is really, really important. To see the affect and we can hear tonality and match it with affect is really important because when you're sitting with a counselor, it's more than just listening to you. They're assessing the whole person. But with the title and what this is, so pretty much what you said, like the visual of seeing a therapist and laying on a couch, which people don't really do
No,
a whole lot.
I've never laid. I've sat, but I've never laid.
I would love to lay on the couch because I would go to sleep.
Yeah, it would be like nap time.
Yes, but it is absolutely creating that same setting, but using telecommunications to do it. And so with that, we're using technology. And so in my instance, using secure video conferencing, which looks very similar to Skype or a FaceTime call.
Okay.
But I actually use HIPAA secure platforms that
was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're actually designed for therapists. And so when you think about telemental health, which is what this is actually called, it's a subset of telehealth.
Yep.
So there are doctors that are using telecommunications, there are psychiatrists, psychologists, and so telemental health is just a subset under there, where I like to say, I'm now normalizing a client's normal setting and I'm bringing counseling to you because when we think about the stigma that surrounds counseling and being seen going into a certain, counselor's office or what my friends might think about that. And it's not that, we want to just eliminate all those things altogether because those are things to talk about, but why not make it a little bit more comfortable and be in a space that's comfortable for you and truly meet the client where they are.
I think when you're dealing with teens and young adults, having a teen myself who I swear I'm like, do I just feed you and that's the only time I see you?
We're going to assume he's well adjusted and well fed.
Well, I don't know. I guess so. But you're meeting them where they are. They're on social media all the time. They are FaceTiming friends. They're doing all of that. So that medium is very comfortable for them.
Yeah. And when you think about it too, technology has been integrated into every area of our life. So when you think about business, school, careers, like there is a technological component to everything. So why leave mental health out of that?
So Melissa, as you all know, I like starting from the beginning. Were you always, as a kid, interested in doing social work? I mean, how did that come about? Are you from St. Louis, first of all?
Absolutely not. So both of those questions.
And I think that's a healthy answer.
She joins all three of us that are not from St. Louis, right?
And none of us woke up going, I'd really like to talk to people about their mental health issues. It's like a 5-year-old. But when did that hit you? Where were you living at the time?
You all are so funny. So I'm from Chicago.
Oh, there you go. That's why I love her. Yes. I'm from Chicago, too.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yes.
That is so awesome. So I'm from the south side of Chicago. And after high school, I went to the University of Dayton in Ohio.
Wow.
And that's actually where I met my now husband. And he was a couple years older than me, has a really tight-knit family, and we had our oldest daughter in college. And we completely, with God's grace, figured it out and raised her for her first year while we were both students.
Wow.
And it was difficult, though. And we needed to get back to a support system. And by the time he's graduating, it's like, okay, Chicago or St. Louis, but we got to get to some family.
Right.
And that's when we chose to come to. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's when we chose to come to St. Louis.
Okay.
And
He's from St. Louis?
He's
then?
from St. Louis,
Okay.
yes. And I was midway through my undergrad degree at that time.
And what was your degree in?
So, funny you asked.
Here we go. Here's the journey.
So I originally was going to school to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And wasn't that you, poli-sci lady, sitting on the couch?
It was poli-sci, but it was never law.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I had my hopes on being a criminal defense attorney.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And I don't even know where that came from, honestly.
LA law, law and order.
When I think about it, though, so I'm from low income urban area in Chicago, and family had instances of, substance abuse. We were raised around a lot of, violence, always went to public schools that were under-resourced, all these things that were happening. I was adopted, so I was raised outside of my birth family.
Okay.
And so just all these things were happening when I was a child, but I was always safe. Like, those things were happening around me, but I was protected from those things. But I always say, like, when you're from the hood and you're smart, your ticket out is education.
Absolutely.
And if you're from the hood and smart and you got the ticket out with education, you better get a job that pays well. It's like, it's no other option.
And so entrepreneurship was obviously the best next step.
Right.
I mean, we always talk about that too. Of like, get the good education, get the good job. What are you doing with this whole work for yourself
You're
thing?
going, what? Right,
Yes.
exactly.
And so entrepreneurship was really never in my mind. And so when I went away to college, it was kind of like, what jobs do you know make the big bucks? I didn't want to be a doctor or anything like that. So I'm like, law school is what it is.
Okay.
Well, there you go. There you go.
But it was in those those introductory pre-law classes that life hit me real in the face.
Really?
And I did not enjoy them. I hated them.
Really?
Yes. Law is very black and white.
Yeah.
It's very black and white.
My sister's an attorney.
And you're all in the fields.
Yes. And so for me, that's when I first started to realize that my mind works in the gray. And I remember going because I was struggling a little bit in classes and just not feeling like I was doing the right thing or in the learning, in the right space. And I went and talked to my advisor, and we had a really, really good conversation. At the end of the conversation, she says, "You sound like a social worker."
Wow.
And I'm like, what do they
that? And they don't make a lot of money.
Exactly.
Right. That goes opposite of what I was thinking of, right? Right.
And so she gave me all this information to read. And I remember meeting with her. It was like on a Thursday or a Friday. And that Monday, I decided that I was changing my major.
All right.
Yeah. And so when I thought about like just my upbringing and the, having a parent with a substance, with an addiction and being raised differently from my or separately and differently from my siblings, like I've always been very interested in like family systems and how they work and people and, how people can, grow and go one way or the other and the resilience that's in people. Like just all these things has always been so important to me and that actually makes sense to be a defense attorney, to get people, get that to the spotlight.
Sure.
And so, it was after talking to an advisor and not having a good time in some of my undergrad classes where it was like, you know what? I
This
think
is not what I want to do. This
this
is not
is
your
me.
calling. Right. Right.
Yeah, and I've been in love ever since.
Well, you know what? It's good that you understood that early on, because people sometimes make the mistake of plowing through and choosing the career that doesn't really fit with them.
Some
That's
costs,
not what
they keep on
there
going.
you go. And then you're paying back money for some crap
Something you
that
hate.
you don't want. Right.
And that's a huge thing, honestly.
Yes.
And some of my clients, that's what we're kind of navigating and talking about. My parents want this thing for me, but I think I want this.
Yeah.
And how do we figure that out?
Tell me if my son calls you.
Yeah, sure, Mom. That whole HIPAA thing. No problem.
Exactly.
Wink, wink, nudge,
So
nudge.
you came back to St. Louis. What happened after that?
Yeah, so transferred to UMSL, trucked through there. I was accepted into the master's program with advanced standing. And so my master's degree was a little bit shorter than normal.
And is that where you discovered the entire credentialing around being a distance counselor?
No. So
how's that all put together?
Fast forward. That didn't come till the end of 2016.
Okay.
So I did, I worked for St. Louis County government for quite a few years. I also did PRN work at a psych hospital. And so getting that, I've always been really interested.
PRN means as needed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And so I've always been interested in really learning and knowing and growing those clinical skills for myself. And so I actually was promoted into a supervisory position when I was working for the county. And that's when I came away from direct practice. And I didn't like it.
You like being directly in contact?
Yes.
Being with your clients.
Yes. I was working with young adults at the time and pretty much helping them to achieve anything and everything that they wanted to do. And when I came away from that and became a supervisor over a program, the program was great. The kids we were working with were great. I didn't like my role at that time. And I became completely stressed, completely just not, again, misaligned with what it is that I wanted to do. And it was actually my husband that decided, or that not decided, but mentioned or started to kind of
we know how you back that up. Yeah, he didn't decide for you. He helped, with that decision.
He decided that she could be happy in another way.
He decided that mama coming home and not being cool, we need to find some other way for you to do.
There's a better thing out here for her.
Exactly.
And that's what's true. And so I didn't mention that. So after I finished the master's in social work, here in Missouri, you can get an LMSW, so that's a licensed master social worker.
Okay.
Once you take that test and get that, you then can do 2 years of supervision to then get the LCSW. And so it's a lot of education and time and training. But with the LCSW, you have that's what gives you the ability as a social worker to be able to open your own practice and things like that. Okay. And so when it came back around, my husband's like, well, you've invested all this time and this money into these credentials. And you're not happy with what you're doing. So, what do you think about doing something for yourself? And
so he opened up the entrepreneurial door for you.
Oh, yeah. My husband is very business-minded. And when we talk about the tech space, when we, talk about goal-driven counseling, full disclosure, my husband is a software engineer. So ding, ding, ding. Oh,
that's great.
Yeah. So although telemental health is definitely, a subset of the health field, he absolutely opened my mind the way to really dive into that and to look into that a little bit more.
So this what really began as you finding a way to be happy and aligned, because that theme of knowing when you're misaligned, feeling it in your body and your soul and everything else, but also in finding your own alignment, breaking down barriers to care by using the telemental health model as a way of not only fulfilling your professional and personal dreams, but also reaching the folks who need you most. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Because I also think, as a Black woman with these credentials, and I know just within my circle of friends wanting to find counselors who look like you, right? That who can relate to your experience, who you feel comfortable with, who you can be vulnerable with.
Yes.
There are often a lot of conversations around, does anyone know a Black social worker or a person of color who's in the mental health space? Because as you said before, there's a lot of stigma attached to it. And it seems like you too are then also able to reach a whole wider audience because you're not confined to one geography.
And shared experience.
Absolutely. Cultural representation is so important.
Yes.
And when we look at the stats, like African-American therapists make up 2% of the national population.
Wow. Oh my God. I have no idea how small.
Yeah.
Okay. So I knew my friends were looking. So
so when we're looking at the stigma and all of that, and when we're and then let's, full disclosure too, when we look at the recent climate of our country in the last several years, there are lots more people that are sharing instances of experiencing lots of microaggressions and racism and all those kind of things. Trauma, absolutely.
Exactly.
And so with that, it becomes even more important.
And our young
to sit
people
in front of
experiencing
someone.
that as well. That is amazing. So is your husband involved with your business?
He thinks he is.
She chuckles.
I think he's involved more than he plans to be.
She's like, don't tell him.
Right.
Don't tell him. He thinks he does his own thing.
My husband is awesome, and he's a behind the scenes kind of guy.
That's great.
But one, with the technology piece, he has really helped me to just stay on top of all that, because he understands that language a lot differently.
And you can
than
focus
I do.
on the clinical and what you need to do.
And I can focus on the clinical side. But another thing, so I get so much great feedback about my website and my branding and just what it looks like. My husband has done it all.
Oh, wow.
So like brochures, business cards,
So if you like what you see when you check her out after listening to this podcast, we can make a referral is what I'm hearing.
There we go.
Yeah.
And he's an employee. She didn't have to pay. That's great.
You know what? I'm not getting into that.
I was going to say, well, you might
not want to throw that out.
Yeah. So
But
he
that's
hasn't
great.
taken that on, just yet in a bigger space. But for me, he did it, and that was it's awesome. Some of the things that I didn't have to worry about.
I was going to say, if you have kids, they see too that you guys are building a great business together as partners, not just partners in marriage, but business partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And our oldest is 10.
Okay.
And so she's very much in tune with, well, mommy, you make your own schedule now, and you do this, and so she's listening and she's learning.
Absolutely.
So it's really been awesome.
That's great.
We're going to talk more about that in just a minute.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One is CET's flagship program for entrepreneurs. It's a hands-on training program designed to provide support to first-time entrepreneurs in the St. Louis region actively engaged in the development of bioscience, information technology, or advanced manufacturing commercial enterprise. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
My name is Sarah Arnosky. I'm from the St. Louis Regional Chamber and Accelerate St. Louis. And to me, entrepreneurially thinking means identifying a problem that needs to be addressed and thinking of a creative solution that makes life easier and better and happier.
Melissa, you've been doing this now since 2017. And as you said, your oldest is old enough now to see that mom's crafting her own schedule and mom and dad are working together and doing all that. What does it look like over the last year to really move from doing the face-to-face work that you're so passionate about to moving into this telemental health space and working with clients virtually?
Yeah. So the actual transition of in-person to online has been awesome because I work from home. And so that has absolutely been amazing, a very easy transition. What I didn't plan for was the growth.
Wow.
And that has been something that I'm continually trying to manage. One thing that I didn't mention with the practice is I knew, especially transitioning to work from home, I knew that I wanted to do more. And so I really love just psychoeducation, of educating people on mental health and connecting with people in that way. And so I created a series of workshops as well for people that I actually do in person in the community. Okay. And so balancing those in addition to other opportunities in person with the online practice has taken quite a bit of juggling and getting used to. When I first launched, I launched September of 2017 and I was still working full time. So I would come home and see clients in the evenings and on the weekends. And that got overwhelming real fast.
Sure.
Mom of 3 and my husband, he had completely taken on the household because I wasn't really available. So that piece was really, really difficult. And so getting to the place, I went full time in February of 2018.
I was going to tell you, when did that, you had a 9 to 5 and then a 5 to 9.
Yes.
When did you make that 5 to 9 your total?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like in about 6 months.
Wow, that's great.
You were going to need to do that.
Yeah.
And then the growth not only of in-person workshops as well as online counseling, but I would imagine that just growing the client base, that now you're accessible to a whole range of clients that are not geographically contiguous to where you live, right?
Yeah, and that's been an awesome part. And you mentioned too, just being a Black female. There was one point in time where I had more clients outside of the St. Louis metropolitan area than I had in. And that was because the majority of the time they would call and say, I was looking for a Black therapist. And there isn't one close to me. Or I have to travel, I was
going to say, you're eliminating drive time issues. You're eliminating, sort of the confines of either being in urban or rural poverty.
Flexibility.
And provider access.
Right.
So I do a lot of work with the Integrated Health Network, and just the number of providers per person in our own MSA is very low. So we don't have enough people, right? And then you add things like transportation, and other life circumstances, other social determinants of health. It can be almost impossible to actually find and see a provider, even if you're open to that.
That's what I was going to say. I think insurance companies would love you because you're not relegated to one area. So they're subscribers can get in contact with you from different states, from different cities, whatever. How are you managing all of that? You say the growth was tremendous. How are you managing that?
Yeah, so just to clarify, because I am an LCSW and with telemental health, you have to be licensed in the state in which you see your clients.
So it's not quite as easy as you said.
But
maybe one day.
Big state.
Yes.
Maybe one day.
Yes, this is a big state. And so... So with me, the growth in Missouri has been great. And one interesting thing, that's what I was going to say. One interesting thing is that in the states, there has to be a license from state to state. But internationally, those regulations are not as tight with telemental health. So quietly over the summer, I gained clients in other countries, which was very like, whoa, I didn't really see that coming as well.
How did that happen? Were you marketing or doing anything in those countries?
So I try to stay pretty consistent online with just an online presence. I have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but then I'm on a couple of online directories as well. And one of the ones that most people have found me from other countries is one called Therapy for Black Girls. And for this one, you can list, in your states, but I did a podcast interview for them as well on telemental health. And then I got calls from all over.
Wow.
And it was people who actually were explants. So they were from the U.S., but they were living abroad. Yep. And so there wasn't like language barriers and all those kind of things. So it's the growth in the state, but then also in other countries. So this past summer, I did expand to a group practice and added on a few independent contractors.
I was going to ask you, so how are you scaling? Because Melissa only has 24 hours in a day.
And 3 children.
And 3 children and a husband. Okay.
Melissa keeps trying to remind herself of that.
We've done the math before. It never comes out quite the way you would hope.
Yes.
Oh my God. So you are scaling by bringing folks on that can take advantage of what you're doing and do it well.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes. So other licensed clinicians that are wanting to come on as independent contractors.
Are they all people of color, or are you bringing different folks?
Yeah. So they're not. I have a couple of contractors who are not. Have had a very long-standing relationship with them, so I know they're great clinicians.
Oh, great. Great.
And then I do have one, and looking at adding others of other clinicians of color.
So
too.
Is this a model that exists in other states? I mean, or is this unique? What you're doing?
Yeah. So this model is pretty big. So the answer to that is yes, but in different ways. And so it was mentioned earlier, like the audio, where there's just like phone counseling, or another big push that is happening is through text counseling. And so for when I decided to go into online counseling, the first thing that I kind of gained the most information on was text-based therapy. And so I actually signed on and did that for a year as I was building my practice, just to get a little bit of exposure and see like, what is this like? And so with these clients, I was doing counseling with them all written. So whatever I would say, I would actually have to type and say to them.
So this get I'm thinking
the
about
MD
people, right.
Over
well,
here
I'm not
is
even
looking
thinking
like,
of that.
I don't know about that.
Because how do you know who's texting? And then are people sending back memes all the time? Like when you say something,
I'll just send you my
here's a
cat
meme.
smiley face.
Right.
So you actually bring up a good point. You know, when it comes to just the audio or the text, there's these other just kind of ethical considerations that come up, or procedural considerations that come up. And that's when I noticed that particular treatment modality wasn't good for me. I needed to see and hear my clients and to make sure that I was talking to the right person. But just still, it always made me think, because it's not like the conversation changes depending on the modality that you're using. So there would be times where we're talking about trauma and all these other kind of things, and I'm thinking like, you could possibly be in the grocery store. Like, where are you at this time? And that was something that was really, really tough for me. Yeah. And so when I dove even more into the research with telemental health, and actually WashU's Department of Psychiatry was one of a big one that did research on this, what they found was that the actual video conferencing was most closely aligned and gave the same kind of results, I would say, with good, well-rounded care. Right. And so that's when I decided, like, I'm really just going to do video conferencing to make sure that it's most closely aligned with best practices when it comes to health, because we're still talking about this is still mental health and it's still very serious.
Absolutely.
Thing.
So
we don't want to make it so casual to where we're not doing the best work.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, as again, kind of going back to your own, what's driven you to do your practice this way. And as you look to scale, one of the things you said before was, you get the education, you get the good job. And I joked that, entrepreneurship's not quite in that pathway, right? But this has the potential not only to reach a lot of people and do a lot of good, but also to be a scalable practice for you. So how do you see yourself as an entrepreneur now that you are living that, what might have started as a more of a lifestyle choice and a personal fulfillment modality seems to also have the potential to meet some of those other goals.
Yeah. And I'm definitely seeing, so this has been my first full year. So I've definitely learned where I've made big mistakes. And
was that on the business side, the clinical side?
Oh no, definitely on the business side. Okay.
She's like, I got the clinical down cold.
I got it down. Business side, there absolutely could have been some other things, just like financial, and I guess that's another big piece. Like as still largely a solo entrepreneur right now, there are so many different hats that I wear. And so, I'm the business person, I'm the admin person, I'm the service provider, I'm, the social media person.
Exactly.
I'm all these different things.
And so, you're a manager of these contractors.
Yes, absolutely. And we have partnerships now with some nonprofit organizations, which is awesome. But there's still only one me, kind of like you said. So starting to figure out and learn, okay, when is that time when I bring on an admin person or something like that? So I'm learning as I go, and a lot of them have been great lessons, and I feel we're doing pretty good, but there's so much better that can be done. But I'm actually surprised at myself that I am in this space, because I've always been one of those like behind the scenes, one-on-one kind of person. To be the face of a whole business is just like, holy gosh, I am doing this.
Holy fill in the blank.
Right.
Yeah. And my husband is still like, yep, leave me behind the scenes. But it's been awesome. Like I didn't know. And that's something that, when I do, I'm very big on mentorship. So being mentored myself, then also being a mentor to others. And that's one thing when I've connected with other like young entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting, or they're trying to take that leap and they just haven't quite, figured it out. In my mind, it's like, wow, we have to be open to all the other things that can come from taking that first jump. Like, I thought this was going to be a small practice that I was going to juggle with my full-time job for a few years. And I never planned on being a speaker or all these other things that have now happened. But I'm glad I did. And so it's opened up my mind and helped me to be even more open to possibilities that I might have put limits on within myself.
I think you said the right thing, being open. We close ourselves down because we say, oh, it's not the right time. I don't want to do it right now.
We're afraid of living into our greatness.
Right.
I mean, I know I am. I mean, I think like
all
when
of us
you
are,
get close and you're like, wow, this might actually be some big deal. Like, what I'm just going to step 2 steps back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but you stepped out into it, and stepping out on faith a lot of times, just to say, yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. So I started creating this, building towards this, like the very end of 2016. And so by the time we launched in September, I said that from then on, like it was going to be my year of yes. Like as long as an opportunity came that was in alignment again. So I'm very big on alignment, if you see. But as long as an opportunity came that was aligned with my message and my goals and what I represent, I wasn't going to think about it. I was going to say yes.
That's a good entrepreneur, because a lot of times, it's staying focused. And many times, as we all know,
having some sort of lens to determine what's aligned, right?
But I mean,
but
a
also
lot of
being
times,
really open to the things that you just can't foresee.
I was going to say, some entrepreneurs that we worked with, they bing, 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 they're all over here without focusing on, I'm committing to this, and I think that's sometimes the downfall of some folks who get into entrepreneurship because they don't stay true to their mission, don't stay true to their focus. Seems like that's what you've done, and you're doing it pretty successfully.
I've tried. So I would absolutely say that I'm entering a new season of narrowing that even more, because I think in the first year of those yeses, I had to make a name for myself.
Sure.
And I had to, build and do things and for people to know who the heck I am.
Right.
And so now that I've done that, my yes looks different because I'm being pulled on in so many different ways.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But you're being discerning, right? About what you, like you said, what you say yes to. What are some of the things that you learned that you say, wow, that was an aha moment? That we're putting you on the spot.
We are putting you on the spot.
Yes. Something that I've learned.
Either with your clinical practice, talking to, different individuals about your business. What was something that you say really, change what you were doing, or just made you say,
or surprised you,
or just made you say, yes, this is why I'm here doing this. Because a lot of times we always go, oh, is this really what I should be doing? But something on your journey said, this is it. Yes, I know I'm here, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I think just being a clinical social worker, period. So not even just in the entrepreneurial space, because I've said a couple of times, like, I feel like I've made myself the perfect job. Like, I can do workshops and I can do one-on-one and I can, do these things. But I think the whole time that I've been in social work, and it's been even more reinforced now with myself, is connecting with people in that one-on-one, just shared experience and personal journeys and sharing some things and people being able to say, like, you helped me to look at that differently or open my mind up in a different way or to heal from a certain thing in a different way because I never looked at it that way. So I think I've had many times of knowing that I'm doing the right thing, no matter how stressed or overwhelmed I get. I've never had a moment where I've questioned if I'm in the right place.
Wow, that's great.
And you're clearly, your acumen and passion for the clinical side is clear, rings loud and true. Do you also now embrace the identity of being an entrepreneur?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will never go work for anyone if I can, can have any control in that. But yes, and because there are so many new things and new spaces and just ways of just more expansion that I now see that I can do and really own this space, like locally. And I looked, I tried, but as far as I know, I'm the only one in the state that's doing this.
Wow.
And so I have
so cool.
Yeah, I have the opportunity to really make my mark as the telemental health therapist.
That's right.
And
heck
yeah.
And she's on our show.
Yes.
Without any liquor involved.
So funny. Yeah. Well, let me say, there are other people that do online counseling. They're just none that's their whole practice.
Right.
And I think you're setting up something differently from what you said early on. Social social work is not, in many people's mind, a profitable route to go.
Yes.
Now you are changing that. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. We're not taught, and that's something that down the line I might, want to look into too, but I definitely talk about it when I am on campus, as I'm still very heavily connected with UNSL. But we're not taught as social workers to, have your own business. We're not actually even taught about private practice. That's the counseling students that get taught about private practice, and they get that exposure and that experience with private practice. And so just knowing that if you have an idea and you're willing to back that idea, that's a business.
Wow.
And that's just, I'm really excited about that.
That's great. I think you are changing the face of what that looks like, brick by brick,
And when I read about Melissa, actually in one of UMSL's publications, she made me think of Catherine Finney, because Catherine Finney out of Atlanta and Digital Undivided talks about supporting tech-enabled entrepreneurs, particularly women and entrepreneurs of color. And this idea that the tech space is where money is being made in entrepreneurship and in our industry and in our economy,
world, right? In our society.
And that if we're not participating in the tech economy, we're leaving money on the table. We're leaving wealth on the table. We're leaving prosperity on the table. But to find ways to make the different places we want to be and the different ways we want to show up tech enabled, that we don't all have to be going and creating a software as a service.
Right.
We're not all going to have an app. We're not all going to have a social media platform. We're not all going to fill in the blank of what we think a traditional tech company looks like.
Right. Yes.
We're going to find ways to use technology to change the world.
Yep.
And so when I saw Melissa's, I was like, she is the quintessential tech-enabled entrepreneur.
She's
like,
changing
if an LCSW can figure out how to take technology, be compliant within her field, serve her patients at the highest optimal level, and build a business around it.
That's amazing.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. That's it. Just boom. So,
Drop the mic.
as we look,
Done. That's great.
I just say, as we look for these examples of who are the entrepreneurs in the tech space moving forward, I think it's going to be people like Melissa.
So are you teaching at UMSL too?
No.
Oh, okay. You just still have the tie.
Would I like to? Yes.
I think between us, we know a few people.
The atmosphere here.
Talk about a lot of work.
Yeah.
We might have to talk about how that fits in the overall business model.
Yes.
But if it makes you happy, I'm not going to talk you out of it. So now, as you're reflecting and going into your second year, I actually started my full-time gig back in September of 2017 too. So I feel like we're kindred spirits in that. Thank you. And you said, you're getting more discerning with your yes. What does 2018 into 19 look like for you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot more, I won't say structured, but just full disclosure. A lot of times when you are making a name for yourself and you're, presenting at, workshops and things like that, and you just want to get your name out there, it's free.
Right. Sure.
And so I think I've done quite a bit in this last year to where I can be a little bit more selective with what my yes looks like. And that yes comes with a cost.
Well, when they
she's
call you
available.
back,
And if you'd like to book her and find out what her fee schedule is.
When people want to call you back, that's when you should start charging.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a whole nother show unto itself, because this is also one of those things I think we struggle with as women, that we're so flattered by the offer that we do give a lot of, we're giving a lot of stuff away. But that's a really interesting point. So as you're thinking about how to scale what you're saying yes to, but also what you're being compensated to say yes to matters a lot.
And absolutely, streamlining my internal processes better. So I won't be the only face of this, on the administrative side, I think. So although I have contractors now, making sure that I am now delegating and bringing on help so that I don't get completely burnt out.
And investing in yourself. I mean, that's the other thing. As entrepreneurs, we see the money, right? And we get excited. And then realizing that part of that money's job is to reinvest so that we can go even further and faster.
And you've got kids. So how are you balancing, kids, husband, growing a business?
Honey, there ain't no balance. You know that.
I'm just asking
How
the
is she
question.
flowing?
She you just came from working out this morning, so you have some balance there, right?
Yeah. So I've said this word so many times. I've thrown away the idea of balance. I absolutely believe in aligning with my life, and what that looks like for me is that everything can't be on the table at the same time. And so for me right now, especially with having such a young business and it growing in different ways, and being a mom and a wife and things like that, business and family are at the top for me. And so does that look like maybe my social life gets a little bit more decreased, or I don't spend
your mom. I'm like trying to figure out what the hell does that mean.
But I've used to be very big on like keeping in really, really good contact with friends and doing lunches and dinners and, things like that. And there's a lot of times where I just have to say no, because at the end I need me. And my kids need me, and my husband needs me, and my business needs me.
Right.
And so right now, those are the things that are very much aligned for me. And I love friends. I love doing all these other things, but I have to make sure that I'm not always feeling so off balance again. So right now, my focus is that alignment with family and business, knowing that those people that have always been in my corner are still going to be there.
And you've taken care of you, too.
Yes, and taking care of me. So if that means that I have to go to the gym at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning so that I don't take time from them in the evening, then that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm trying to stick to.
Wow.
So, I prioritize differently depending on what's going on. And there's going to be a time where goal-driven counseling is going to be a little bit more self-sustaining, and then I can pour into something else.
It's all in seasons.
Yes,
everything
absolutely.
has a season.
And that's how I see alignment.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for making time for us, for saying yes.
Yes.
For finding time to align. All of those things. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I know our listeners have as well. And I'm excited to see how your practice grows.
So we have to bring you back in a
where
couple
this
years.
goes,
and we can't pay you, so don't sit up here and say.
Girl.
You all have been too much fun.
Oh, my goodness. She's already laying the groundwork. But on that note, Melissa, thank you so much. And let's just make sure that folks can find you. So if they want to know more about goal-driven counseling, where should they take a look?
Yeah, I would absolutely say the website is the best first stop, and that is goaldrivencounseling.com.
GOAL driven counseling.
Yes, GOAL driven counseling. And that has the website has all the tags for like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
So they can find you if they're interested in your clinical services, if they just want to keep an eye on you and see how your success goes. Fabulous. Well, thank you for making time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Fabulous. Thank you.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.